Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another game from Shadow Online Gaming's Total War Warhammer 2 YouTubers Tourney. And this is in fact going to be the last game of the second group stage. And this time around I did find myself playing as the Greenskins, squaring off against Vulcan Gaming as the Force of Chaos on the map Mosquito Swamps. And going into this game, I wanted to try out something a little bit silly, but at the same time, of course, still remain with a somewhat competitive build. And so we are rocking and rolling with Grimgor Ironhide. Gotta live the meme dream. And, well, he is quite the menace. We've got him fully kitted out, because if you're going to bring Grimgor, it's got to be fully kitted out. There's no other way. We're here to charge up our wall. We're here to snick some gits, run in there with Foe Seeker, and get our boys back in the fight if needed with Stand Your Ground. Now, for the front line, it's a pretty hefty blob of Black Orcs. 2 units of vanilla Black Orcs, as well as the Crimson Killers. I absolutely adore these guys, and especially when you're playing Grimgor, you got to go all in on that Black Orc play. Crimson Killers, they've got splash damage, so against the dense infantry formations Chaos usually has, they do really, really nicely, especially with WoW. Or some buffs from, say, Night Goblin Shaman, which we've got over here providing further support. And what does he have? Well, we do have the Curse of the Bad Moon. I was hoping to get a chance to try it out, but we will see if we're actually able to pull it off. Sometimes this spell is finicky and you're not able to get use out of it. Gork will fix it because, well, crowd control is amazing, and especially with a relatively slow build like this one, you need the speed debuffs. Itchy Nuisance, just to keep the Black Orcs alive a little longer. And finally, we do have Sneaky Stabbing, because, of course, you do want some extra damage output. Now, bracking all of this up, of course, you can't bring Black Orcs without support. So we do have the Arachnarok Queen towering over the rest of the fray here. And she, of course, does have a Spiderling summon. She's going to provide some anti-large, some AP, some poison to slow enemies down. Stacked on top of Gork'll Fix It makes it very difficult for enemies to escape. Besides that, we do have the AP Cloonies there to provide a little bit of poison support, as well as an anchor on the flank. They'll be able to stall my opponent. Obviously, Vulcan can roll them with most of his troops. Chaos Warriors, Forsaken, those units will crush these guys in a straight 1v1. But because they're unbreakable, they will stall. And because they do have the Loonies, they can sometimes get some damage in. Now on the periphery, we do have some nasty Skulkers. These guys are mostly there for the snare. They've got a few chevrons into them. Because if you're going to chevron up a unit as Greenskins, I think it's usually nasty Skulkers are usually the best way to go, since they're such a high value unit due to their snare, as well as the extra damage they can do with Opportunist Murder. On the flanks, I brought some Goblin Wolf Riders, normal ones over there. We got Moonhowlers over here. I kind of expected Vulcan to go with at least a few Skirmish Cavalry. He has not done that, and that means these Goblin Wolf Riders are kind of useless. This is about 1,000 gold that I blew for nothing. I don't have any targets for him, but hey, you better safe than sorry. You don't want to get caught with your pants down. Finally, in the back, we do have the Mogros Mangy Marauders. These guys regiment around Wolf Rider Archers. And they do have the AP trait, so they've got some pretty hefty missile damage. If my opponent had gone with Kolek or Shaggoth or hell, even if he has chosen Chaos Warriors, they can definitely do some peppering damage there. Now, for Vulcan's build, he has decided to go very wide. He has brought Sir Thurl, the Everwatcher. Very strong choice against the Greenskins. Now, a little bit of an oddball decision here. Decided to bring 2 very expensive spells, Final Transmutation and Transmutation of Lead. Personally, I think it's always good to bring 1 cheap spell, no matter what you're doing. So that if you aren't able to save up enough Winds of Magic, or you need something in a pinch, something like Plague of Rust, for example, can be very, very nifty. He also does have Metal Shifting for the buffs, the Scroll of Leeching to debuff my Winds of Magic recharge, Arcane Conduit for his Winds of Magic, and Stand or Die to keep his troops in the fray. For his front line, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Chaos Warriors with great weapons, Chaos Warriors. We do have Forsaken and Demon Spew on the flanks, so a very hard-hitting force, most likely looking to crush whatever I have on the flanks and envelop my army. However, against this core of Black Orcs, these guys are going to suffer a lot. Now, they are backed by some Chariots. These guys very potent against units like Goblins. Against Black Orcs, Chaos Chariot's not the greatest. They don't have a lot of AP. Behind that, we do have the Dragon Ogre, 2 squads of Dragon Ogres. Very strong against large. If they manage to isolate the Queen, they could do a lot of damage. They are backed by some Chaos Warriors with Halberds. And this is another oddball choice. I wouldn't really recommend it against Greenskins. They don't really have the mass to stop, say, an Arachnarok Queen. And if you're looking to slide out with Black Orcs, I think you're better off with great weapons. Because these guys just attack slower, and they've got lower offensive stats, and yeah, just don't hit as hard. I mean, it's straight impact. So either way, We are going to see what happens. Now, I do pull the Ragnarok Queen back because I don't want her taking early damage. Grimgor is just leading the charge here, but I slow down once again because the Black Orcs are quite a bit slower. They've only got 29 speed to Grimgor's 38. Makes it a little difficult to make sure the engagement happens at the same time. Over here, I actually managed to get my 8-peak loonies off, and they are spinning straight through the line here. Chaos Warriors getting run over, sent flying by the spinning loons, and just look at this mayhem. I love these guys. They've got the tied up dwarves. There's nothing better than watching these guys spin through the enemy. And so we actually don't get much damage in there. We do get a couple hundred points. Yeah, you know, it's like 300 damage on these Chaos Warriors. Definitely nothing to write home about. And it disrupts some of these guys too. But in goes Wah, and things are about to get very gritty. In comes these Black Orcs. I actually pulled back with the AP Cloonies to avoid the Forsaken charge. The Black Orcs wad up are going to crush these guys. It's not even going to be a contest. Already these are up to 4 kills. They've got 34 charge bonus, 63 melee attack. Things are going to get very violent very quickly. Now Grimgor over here is going to commit alongside his Crimson Killers, which is going to force Sarthoil to back the hell away. He's not going to be able to support here. And these Chaos Warriors, with those dense formations, with that clumped grouping, they're going to get slaughtered. Over here, the Black Orcs in the meantime are chewing through these Chaos Warriors pretty quickly. Not as quickly as you'd think, because Chaos Warriors do have good melee defense, but still, it is happening. Over here, Goblin Wolf Riders throwing it against the Chariots. Simple fact is, I had nothing to use these guys for, and I figured, you know what, Chariots are the best target. They've got... Well, they do have armor, but they can't really fight back very well, so might as well tie these guys down, prevent them from getting rear charges, and get some damage in there. And the Wolf Riders get a couple hundred damage in, so it's, you know, it's not a total waste. Over here, the Forsaken get surrounded. They get rear charged by the Moon Howlers, which is actually going to rout them, and they're getting overwhelmed. The Nasty Skulkers are in there too, and it's just massacring them. Over here, the Dragon Ogres do commit, but the Black Orcs are in there. Black Orcs, the Sneaky Stabbit, are going to whoop these guys' rears. They've got the Queen in there providing poison support, so these guys are not hitting as hard. Archery fire raining in, and they are having a very bad day. In the meantime, Grimgor and gang have cleared through the Chaos Warriors. Great weapons are now sweeping down on these Chaos Warriors. And while Vulcan has eradicated these Wolf Riders pretty efficiently, and this was to be expected, it does mean that this entire pocket of troops, which is probably like, I don't know, 3,000, 4,500, probably over a third of his army here, is not engaged right now. And by now, he's already lost about a third of his army. So we are just rolling through him and now collapsing on this pocket. We can see that a final transmutation is going down. It's going to do a lot of damage. Not to see the most of the Nasty Skulkers have a very high model count, but to the Black Orcs, I do believe it actually doesn't kill a model it takes. So it's not going to be killing, or maybe it does. I'm not sure. Either way, it's going to be killing these Black Orcs. It's going to be hurting Grimgor quite a bit. Definitely not what we want to see in life, but it's not going to be enough. We're going to be able to keep cleaving through these guys. None of these guys have great AP values. So honestly, Black Orcs are having an absolute field day. In the meantime, the Dragon Ogres are trying to get in on the poor Mogrebs Raging Marauders, but they just skedaddle out of there. They got 92 speed. They don't give a damn. They're going to run away. Over here in the meantime, the Chaos Warriors with Halberds are getting torn to shreds. They are surrounded, getting hit from all sides by Black Orcs, Skulkers, the 8-peak loonies. And this is an important thing. If you've got these isolated troops, you'll often find that a unit that could hold better normally, if it's surrounded because of the leadership penalty, will buckle a lot quicker. So these halberds are not going to hold very long. They're going to fall apart pretty shortly. Now over here, the Night Goblin Shaman is popping his Wand of Jet to recover some Winds of Magic. So Thurl, though, getting zoned the hell away by the Spider, so that's big value there. And the Black Orcs staying in the fight here, just whomping on these Chariots. And, you know, Grimgor, the thing is, Grimgor hits like a truck. If he's got 23 kills, he's got Foe Seeker going, Scroll of Leeching going down to 9 Winds of Magic, but Grimgor is having an absolute field day. Now in come the Spider Hatchlings, pinning these guys in. I actually don't want them escaping. I don't really care about killing him so much as, or I was sort of losing these guys so much as just killing these guys off. Stand Your Ground does go down, keeping all of my orcs in the fight, except the Nasty Skulkers who have routed, but who really cares? They're goblins. In the meantime, the Wolf Howlers are doing cleanup in Aisle 9, running down these Chaos Warriors. Actually had more wolves here that I could have pulled in for that job as well. The Ragnarok Queen taking a bit of damage, finally sort of getting surrounded by those ogres and the Chaos Warriors halberds and all those units. The problem is, at this point, it's still too little too late. The Crimson Killers are in there. Another Wah is going off. Of course, that is what Grimgor excels at, recharging Wahs, because he just can stay in a fight for all eternity. The Sarthoil, the Everwatcher, is getting routed here. Or, well, not routed, but he's getting forced to flee. Obviously, he's unbreakable, so he's not routing anywhere. But the rest of this pocket is not going to last very long. The Demon Spew here, not doing all too hot. Transmutation of Lead going down to deny me some damage. But with that constant peppering fire, with more Black Orcs pouring in, with Grimgor still being in good shape, and of course, these guys aren't going to route the Psychology because, well, they've got immunity to that, so they're sticking around really well. Now, this is actually one situation where Plague of Rust could have been really useful. Black Orcs don't have the best of melee defense. They rely a lot on armor and HP to survive. So the Demon Spew, for example, buffed up by Plague of Rust, could have done a lot better here against the Black Orcs, at least one unit of them, and perhaps routed them off, which could have been a big win. But regardless, at this point, too little too late. Everything is buckling. Balance of power swing decisively in my favor. Everything does shatter for the Force of Chaos, and Vulcan is now left with just Sarthorael. And obviously, it's going to be a bit of a spectacle here. Sarthorael does try to fly away, perhaps looking to cycle charge, looking to flee, but the Moonhowlers are there to intercept. They run straight into him. Suddenly, they're feeling a bit brave. Sarthorael's down to 900 some HP, losing it quickly. Moonhowler's doing a good job. Gork'll fix it. You can see he's down to 17 speed right now with Gork'll fix it and the poison being applied. He's not going anywhere. And he actually falls, I think, he might have fallen to the Mogrov's Magi Marauders there, which gets a pyrrhic victory for the forces of the Greenskins. Now, definitely a bit of a Mimi build on my end, though, well, I say Mimi, the only really Mimi thing here was Grimgore. The rest of it, in my opinion, was fairly competitive. I think normally you'd probably ditch the Shaman and just get Wurtzag or Azag. That said, Grimgore does have a certain peripheral benefit in being very hard to snipe with Fireball, which is very popular in this matchup. It's actually something I like to do a lot myself. I just bring Fireball and snipe the enemy lord, deny them all. But, you know, Grimgore actually did well. He helped plow through those Chaos Warriors early on, and then he recharged the wall very quickly. And the damage output he was doing was really pressuring those Dragon Ogres to get the hell out of the fight. Very valuable there. Now, the Black Orcs did amazingly well. When they're faced with mid-tier heavy infantry, that's really something where Black Orcs excel. High HP pool, monstrous armor, passable enough melee attack, and monstrous weapon strength just makes them excellent for killing things like Chaos Warriors, especially with under the effect of wall. So you can see these guys only got 0 kills. These guys got 10 on these great weapons. The Halberds got in the 30s, but a lot of this was goblins. So the Black Orcs really didn't suffer that badly, all things considered. It just took forever to whittle them down. The Dragon Ogres probably did the best of the bunch. So Sarthorael also did rather well. He dropped that final transmutation, did quite a bit of work. Now, this build, I think, is reasonably decent. Obviously, the Goblin Wolf Riders didn't pay off, but I think most Chaos players you play against will bring some sort of skirmish force, in large part to counter your skirmish force. It's kind of a back and forth game. Greenskins can bring a hefty skirmish army. Because of that, Chaos has to bring something to counter them, which means either Hounds or their own skirmishers. And in that case, Goblin Wolf Riders are very solid. In this case, Vulcan did not bring them, so they proved essentially 1,000 gold largely wasted, though the Moonhowler still got some value. But I think it's still a good enough reason to bring Wolf Riders. Now, for Vulcan's build, I have a few critiques. One, not bring a cheap spell in Sarthorael. It costs you, like, you can easily ditch that Scroll Shield Leeching and throw in, like, a 60 gold or so spell. I think Plague of Rust costs, like, 60 gold. It's a even if you want both both Transmutation of Lead and Final Transmutation, Plague of Rust can still be huge. It can help your Forsaken annihilate medium or heavy armored units. Like, honestly, even like against Black Orcs, it would help them a huge amount because Black Orcs are armored by a lot. But even if you're, say, facing against Big Guns, which sometimes you'll see, drop their armor by 30. Boom. They're now even flimsier. If you got Boar Boys to kill off, drop their armor by a little bit. Makes them a little flimsier. Obviously, with this much non-AP in your front line, I think it's worthwhile to bring a Plague of Rust. My second critique is Halberds. In my opinion, they have no real place in the Greenskin matchup. Because, yeah, there's Arachnarch Spiders. But ultimately, there's not... most Greenskin players are not going to bring a lot of large to this fight. I don't think Boar Boys are particularly popular. Cheap Greenskin Cav does not require a dedicated anti-large unit. The Arachnarch Queen obviously is a big threat, but for that, you've got 2 units of Dragon Ogres. I think having 2 great weapons here would have been much more valuable for the simple fact that the great weapons would trade much more effectively to the Black Orcs. A second critique, and this, or I guess the third critique, is army spread. He had about a third of his army out of the engagement early on. This obviously hurt. But second of all, if you've got a Transmutation of Lead, it can help counteract Wa a lot. So I think if he'd clumped up his troops a lot more, actually, and this might seem weird because usually you don't want to clump, but in this case, I feel like if he'd clumped up his troops a hell of a lot more, he could have gotten more value that way. He would have been able to survive. Drop a Transmutation of Lead, have all his troops blobbed up, tank through the Black Orc Wa a little better. But that is just my 2 cents there. Great game to Vulcan. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to see the video from other perspectives, be sure to check it out on Shadow's channel. He was, of course, casting all these tournament games, and Vulcan's channel. You should definitely have his take on the match on his channel as well. I do hope you guys enjoyed. You can leave your comments, critiques, questions, all that down below, and I'll attempt to answer as soon as I can. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.